You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Click, click, boom! I'm coming down on the stereo, hit me on the radio. All right, good evening, folks. Sorry about that. Had a little bit of a technical issue going on there, so you probably got about a second and a half of dead air. It'd help if my host monkey butt could remember where the mute button was. Anyway, it is Friday night. It's time for Robinson and Wright, and I am one half of the crew, Rick Robinson. The other half of the crew is Mr. Dan Wright, and he's here with me, and we're going to talk about the debate that fizzled around the world. And yeah, you heard me. I said it right, because we watched it. We watched the whole thing. We've been talking about it off and on all week on pretty much every show that I do, because it was just that terrible. But good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. So it is Friday night, folks. I hope you've got some sort of a cocktail in your hand, because if you watch that debate like I did Monday, you need some sort of sedative. Just saying.
Yeah. We I don't know if anybody heard what we were talking about, but we started talking about our subject off the air and ran it right in and through our intro.
It happens sometimes, but no, nobody could hear us. We were muted. That's why I had the volume down on it. So, and then I realized that we weren't stopping, and I'm like, oh, we need to start now. I kind of forgot. My bad. So
yeah, we did a heck of a show on Monday. We had a lot of people, which made it difficult, but I think we got a lot of really good perspective on the dumpster fire of a first debate for the dumpster fire of an election that we have coming up.
Exactly. I mean, the debate itself basically mirrored the entire election cycle. It was laughable, it was hysterical, and it would have been completely funny if not for the fact that the fate of our country hangs in the balance of this debate, and it's involving two completely crazy people that never should have been nominated in the first place. But hey, what do I know?
Exactly. It boggles my mind. I said it. I think I said it on Monday, and I've said it elsewhere. It was like watching the two bottom members of a high school debate team debate each other, with a moderator who was the teacher going, I can't believe I taught these two people debate. That's what it looked like to me. I admit Trump did okay the first 30 minutes. Hillary did okay the last hour. But at that point, you say, okay, each one of them did okay a little bit, but the rest of it was just a disaster. I mean, it wasn't a debate. They didn't debate. There was no debate. It was defend myself, throw something at her. Defend myself, throw something at him. There was no debate. I got no policy out of any of it. I mean, where are we right now is where I came out of it. Like, I'm frustrated, and I know you are too.
You know, let me just put this into perspective for the listeners. In my opinion, we would have had probably a more entertaining debate show if they would have simply put a monkey in a suit and a monkey in a pantsuit and just let them start flinging poo at each other, because that was basically the human equivalent right there on the stage. Because that's really all it was. It was basically, oh, she said something bad about me, so I'm going to counter with this, and then he said something bad about me, so I'm going to counter with this. Neither one of them really talked about anything substantive. The only thing they mentioned were all the things that Bernie Sanders already said that he wanted to do if he was president. If we're going to get everything Bernie Sanders wanted, why the hell isn't Bernie Sanders on the stage?
Exactly. I mean, to be honest with you, through the whole primary process, I mean, on the Democratic side, the only person I thought that was honest, even though I didn't agree with the thing he said, was Bernie Sanders. But then, of course, he just caved and backed Hillary. But I guess that's what he should have done. We can get into the whole backing Trump thing, I guess. But Bernie Sanders believed in what he was saying. Don't like him? Well, I won't even say I don't like him. Don't believe
in anything he said, but I do believe in the fact that the man stood there and he stuck to his guns. He wanted this. He wanted that. I will stick with it. This is what I want. This is what I'm going to argue for. He stuck to his guns. Where was any policy or anything other than, like you said, Sanders' policy anywhere in the debate other than flinging poo at each other? That's all they did. Just like the Republican debates. The Republican debates, the GOP debates were all about flinging poo at each other. And who brought that on?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you. I mean, honestly, I'll tell you why politics are becoming the way they are. It's because at this point, that's what sells. Look at what the most popular things are on TV right now. We're talking about a bunch of different reality TV shows that, first of all, shouldn't even necessarily be called reality TV because a lot of people don't understand how that works. I know for a fact, like one of the more popular shows, like what was that show? Storage Wars. A lot of that was staged. There was actually someone who was removed from the show who let a lot of secrets out about that and eventually was allowed to come back because he wouldn't stop talking about how rigged it was. Like the fact that the producers would not tell anybody they were doing it, but they would put valuable things in like the worst possible lockers there just so that somebody who actually wound up bidding on it there would be something good to come out of the show. But that they would always make sure that it was buried in the crappiest possible lockers so that there would be an off chance that nobody would even bother to get to it, or it would just basically be somebody who was like, yeah, we'll see what's behind all of this crap. Maybe there's something good there. And those are unfortunately what's started to become popular. And it's part of it is honestly our education system. Our education is no longer about education. It's about indoctrination. It has been for a long time. They don't want people that are actually able to think for themselves or to think critically. They want people that are intelligent enough to perform menial tasks and not intelligent enough to realize that they could have better if they chose to, because that's what they want from us. The thing that nobody's taking into account with all of this that we're watching play out right now is since our revolution, since the forming of the Constitution, there have been groups of people behind the scenes that have secretly been trying to find ways to wrest control back from us, the free people, because they don't want us to be free. They haven't ever wanted us to be free. And they've been secretly, quietly doing everything they could to get us back to a point where we are now, where the majority of the people that are making the decisions are under the assumption that they're making right, smart, intelligent choices, but the truth of the matter is they really don't even understand what they're making the decisions over. And that's how we wound up with Hillary and Trump. And I'm sorry if people don't like me saying that, but that is the truth of it. And no, I'm not saying anyone that's involved in politics is stupid, but I'm saying that we have not been paying attention for far too long. And we woke up, we looked around, we got angry, and all of a sudden he's the best guy to fix it. No, he's not. He's the worst guy to fix it. And there's some of us that still see that, but you guys are also ginned up. You're not paying attention to it anymore because you're like, well, he's the nominee, so if you're not going to support him, then you're a traitor to the country. No. If you're willing to take your belief system and tie it into a pretzel to justify supporting someone who doesn't believe a tenth of what you believe, then please stop calling me a traitor for refusing to do so.
Exactly. And, you've seen it too. I mean, I'll say it today. I said something, and I don't even remember who it was to or what it was about on Twitter. And the response to me was, I was called the response was, oh, so that's what you want, hook nose. I'm not Jewish. So my response to not supporting Trump was, you're a hook nose. I mean, that's where we are right now. You've got, not only is it just all about the whole reality TV thing, which is going on, that's exactly what the debate was, but it's people that are if you don't agree with me, you are what I don't like. And we're going to get rid of you. That's what's going on right now. And a lot of people don't realize it because they're not on social media or not on anything else. They don't see it. They don't understand what's going on. The right, which you call the alt-right, has gone so far to the right that they've gone back around left. Now you have an extreme left that's fascist, an extreme right that's fascist, and a bunch of people caught in the middle going, what do? I vote for Trump because I need to get rid of Hillary, or I vote for Hillary because I need to get rid of Trump. But what do? That's where we're at. It's a country that's divided. It's divided in two directions. It's driving me crazy. I don't even know what to think about it anymore.
You know, it's funny watching all of these people that are just completely mindlessly pulling the lever for whichever color banner they align with, because it reminds me of that line from, what was that, Silence of the Lambs, where the dude's like, it puts the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again. That just reminds me of the same type of mantra these people are repeating over and over and over again, because they're like, oh, you're not voting with Trump? Fine, you're the enemy. You don't like it? We're going to come find you. You don't like it? We're going to come get you. You don't want to vote for Trump? Fine. We're going to throw you over the wall. You don't want to vote for Trump? Fine. We're going to put you in an oven. You don't want to vote for Trump? Fine. We're going to throw you not in the bus, but under the bus. And this is all okay now. That's what terrifies me about what we're looking at. And I actually have a producer for a show host who's talking about trying to come back with us at some point. And she is a very avid Trump supporter, the producer is. And we've been talking privately, and I keep showing her different things because she keeps asking me why I can't get in line with Trump, because she knows that I'm no fan of Hillary. And she's like, well, it's going to be one or the other. And I said, I understand the inevitability of this, but it doesn't mean that I have to accept it. And I started showing things to her in private messages because I'm like, look, see this news story right here? This is why I can't support him. Look, see this news story right here? This is why I still don't support her. That's like there was an article in Breitbart the other day that basically was doing the same exact thing you were just talking about. They were bashing a Jewish reporter for refusing to support Trump. Why would anyone of the Jewish faith or even the Jewish nationality do anything to support that man? Why?
You're exactly right. And it's not that he personally is anti-Semitic or personally a racist. I don't believe he is. But he won't disavow what's going on. If he came out, the thing that kills me is if he came out and said, oh my goodness, I don't believe what is going on with these people that support me and the alt-right. This is ridiculous. I do not want you people to support me. I do not want David Duke to support me. I don't believe in any of this stuff. You people need to go away. You know what? I might sit there and go, oh, that. Because he just disavowed all the people that have been terrorizing me for the last year because I won't support him. But he won't do that because they're too much of his base. He thinks they're too much of his base, but I don't think they will. I think if he did something like that, if he literally came out and said, oh, I don't believe what is going on here. But he won't. And I know he won't. I know his sons won't. Because if you go to his timeline, every single one of his tweets, the first retweet or the first mention is somebody with a freaking frog Avi. Sorry. It drives me crazy. It's like how does his campaign not see that? Okay, he tweets something and the first mention underneath it is somebody with Pepe. Pepe is an alt-right cartoon character. It's the first mention after every one of his tweets, and he doesn't disavow it. If he came out and said, look, alt-right, go away, I don't want you, I might sit there and go, okay, maybe I can vote for you. But he won't do it. So I won't vote for him. I just won't. The end.
Well, I had an interesting conversation with Jackson Richmond, who was actually on the panel with us on Monday night, who wanted to come on and do, because for those of you who were wondering where I was, Thursday morning we had a technical issue, so the show that I had set never ran. So we decided to do a special live late night edition and then run it in today's time slot as well. So Jackson and I had an interesting conversation when it comes to a lot of this stuff with the alt-right and everything else that's going on with Trump. And I think it's one of the things that we were talking about, because I've noticed with millennials that at this point, both major parties have lost so much ground with the millennials that I honestly don't know if either party is going to be around for more than the next 10 to 15 years. Because when the millennial group actually gets to the point where they're ready to take things over, I think there's going to be something completely different in the works. And what I'm noticing, and I've seen it with folks like Jackson, and I've also seen it with another host who's actually on with us more full-time, Bryce Robbins. They have become this weird amalgamation of conservative thoughts and liberal thoughts. And they're honestly very, very centrist. And a lot of people below the age of 30 are very, very centrist. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. There's really not, because I honestly think that if a lot of us could start moving at least a little bit more towards the center, we could probably manage to get a few things done. But the scariest thing is to watch those of them that are completely in line with the more centrist idea and how easy it is for them to give up things that are fundamentally important to this country, all for the sake of going along to getting along. And that's part of what scares me about our future, because we're already seeing that play out now. We've seen people in both parties willing to throw their principles out all for the sake of the win. We've seen for the first time ever the Republican Party using the same scorched earth tactics as the Democratic Party. And we used to befoul them for using those type of tactics and say that they were insane, because no matter, even if they won, by the time they were left, there was going to be nothing left to govern. And now we have both parties using the very same tactics. And I ask you, when the parties that are saying they're so much different than each other have to become exactly like one another to win, and they're doing it for all the wrong reasons, and they're not taking the best of one another but the worst of one another, and they both employ scorched earth tactics to get there, then what is there going to be left to govern when both parties start governing that way? And I think, honestly, what may come from all of this is, at the end of the day, I think the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are probably on the way out, because the millennials really don't want anything to do with either one of those parties. And I think that's why the libertarians have shifted so much more to the left, because they see the writing on the wall, and they know that these younger folks are really still left of center, but they're closer to the center than the people that were typically running with the libertarians. And I think that's another reason why they're shifting the way they're shifting. I think they're trying to read the flow of the current, and I think they figured out a way that they think they can finally get the seats at the power of table rearranged a little bit. I think they may have bet wrong, at least this early in the race, as far as them becoming a major power player. But I honestly am afraid they might be on the right track. I don't really think by the time there's anybody left, that by the time you and I are like in nursing homes, I don't think there's anybody really going to be left that's right of center, because it's just not popular anymore.
No, I think you're correct. I mean, I'm actually kind of proud of my youngest daughter, who I talk politics with a lot. And she's 15 years old, and she really liked Bernie. And I asked her, why do you like Bernie? And kind of the same thing I said earlier. She said, because I trust him. I think he says what is on his mind, and I think he believes in it. At the same time, she also said that she liked Marco Rubio. She also said that she trusted him and thought he said what was on his mind. So she's not looking at it from totally a political standpoint as a 15-year-old. She's looking at it from people who she believes are saying what they believe in. And that's kind of cool. I mean, when I talked to her about it, I was like, man, that's a good way to look at it, because she can't stand Hillary and she can't stand Trump, and she couldn't stand a few of the other people that were in the race. But for her to say that she liked people because of their honesty, that's maybe a good thing going forward with the younger generation.
No, exactly right. And look, I don't want everybody to think that I'm all doom and gloom and I'm giving it up. I'm just saying, if we don't figure out a way to change things, we've lost the younger generation. It's apparent at this point, because they really don't want anything to do with either party. So we're going to have to, whether it's through the GOP or through some other offshoot that I honestly think at this point we need, and that was another topic that Jackson and I disagreed on last night, because he's still avidly a supporter of the Republican Party. He's of the mindset that at this point it's a foregone conclusion. We're going to get 4 years of Hillary, but then it's up to the Republican Party to shore themselves back up again, pick up the pieces, put themselves back together, and try to make a valid run for 2020. And Jackson didn't like my comments to that, because when we realized that was what had happened with Obama, we were in that same mindset then. And we knew, with as terrible as he was, that most likely there would only be 4 more years of Obama. But at this point now, we're basically looking at, no matter which one of these two win, it becomes a continuation of now 12 years of Obama. And in a lot of ways, not only 12, but now, 16, 20 years of the same weird amalgamation of social policies with the nice little touch of totalitarianism that W started leaning into. And I understand his mindset there, so please don't get me wrong. W actually happens to listen to one of my shows from time to time. He has ever since I interviewed his father's chief of staff. And he occasionally, through third party, gives me grief when I bust his chops. But it doesn't change the fact that I started to lose my stomach for his policies when things like the Patriot Act came into play. Because I felt like, even though he did it with the best of intentions, he was leaning his shoulder a little too heavily into totalitarianism, and we've not recovered from that. And not only have we not recovered from that, we went and doubled down with it with Obama, who has done so many more things worse than W ever thought of, and now we're looking at either giving Hillary that type of power or Trump that type of power. If you guys thought Obama was scary, think about Hillary and Trump, because Hillary has dreamed of this day for 40 years. Trump has been trying for it for nearly as long. And the difference between those two and Obama, because they're both narcissistic, they both have very centric views of the world, of themselves, and think that they are the center of everyone else's universes. But the difference is, Obama didn't understand the power that he was gifted with when he became the president. And I don't mean that in a good way. I mean, he didn't understand the things that he could do and the damage that he could do, but he started to figure it out about a quarter of the way through his second term, and that's when the executive orders started going nuts. And if you guys think that either Hillary or Trump is going to be any better with that, you're nuts, because they understand the power. They've been craving it for 4 decades, if not in some cases more. And if you think that they're going to govern moderately, either one of them, then you're insane. And if you think either one of them is going to do the right thing by this country, then I'm sorry, you're insane again. And you can be upset with me for saying that, because if you're my friend and I'm saying that, then you must realize that I understand that you and I are friends, but I'm trying to make you understand exactly how far off the reservation you seem to be to me, because all of you look at me and say how far off the reservation I've gone. It's the exact opposite, folks. You are selling yourself short if you think either one of these people is going to do the right thing for the country. And the sad thing is, while you're selling yourself short, you're taking me along for the ride, and I'll be damned if I'm not going to keep trying to find the brakes while we're headed towards a cliff. So you don't like it, I don't care.
No, you're exactly right. And my friends all know, I mean, I went off the reservation 13 years ago. came back. I came back because it was so promising. The field we had to pull from was so promising to start moving things in another direction, and not even in a complete other direction. I never expected that. I mean, with somebody like Walker or Rubio or Fiorina or Paul, you were just at least getting a slight move. I don't think without drastic measures, I don't think we get a dramatic move in our direction. It just doesn't happen. It can't happen. Not now. If people start seeing and realizing how bad things are getting a few years down the road, maybe a more of a dramatic direction. But I really thought we had it. I came back and I got screwed by the GOP again. You know, and I even though I left 13 years ago, I voted for GW. I really did. He got handed a bad hand. But it's just it's not going to happen. People think things are going to happen overnight. People vote for Trump because they think Trump is going to come in and he's just going to change everything. 6 months later, the whole country has changed. That's scary, because if they really think he's going to do that, we may as well change our name to Venezuela, because that's exactly what's going to happen.
Banana Republic, yo.
Yeah, it doesn't happen that way. People need to understand how government works. You elect a president. That president can't just go in and say, okay, this is the way I want it to be, and this is the way it's going to be. It doesn't work that way. Government is a quagmire for a reason. And the reason is because instant change destroys a country. And I don't know. I don't even know where the and goes. It's just instant change destroys a country. It does. Again, I go back to Venezuela. Look at Venezuela. If everybody in this country wants no bread on the shelves, no nothing on the shelves, and you go to McDonald's and a Big Mac costs you $16, great. That's what Trump's, and I mean, not even Hillary's, but that's what the supporters of Trump, the way they think he's going to make things happen, that's what happens if he makes things happen that way. He becomes a dictator and changes everything immediately, and the rest of the world goes, we want nothing to do with you, and you pay $16 for a Big Mac, and you can't get bread on the shelves. That's the way it works, and people don't understand that. This whole Make America Great Again. America wasn't screwed up. I mean, it was, but it wasn't screwed up that bad. It was still great. It was still the greatest country in the world, and it still is the greatest country in the world, but he's going to make it great again? No. All these people think that if he gets in, he's going to make these drastic changes. Drastic changes are what a dictator does, and that's what gets you Venezuela.
No, exactly. And I'm going to say the same thing that I've said all along. In order for the slogan "Make America Great Again" to work, that would have to mean that the people that are pulling for that have already lost hope in who we were, and they're hoping that we can become some semblance of that again. I have a problem with that, because even under Obama, I don't think the country is not great. I think we've had some politicians that have made bad decisions. I think we've had some people that have gone along to get along when perhaps they shouldn't have. But I think there are ways to fix that without, in this instance, unfortunately, we now have the choice of, do we throw the baby out with the bathwater, or do we throw the bathwater out with the baby? Because that's basically our election cycle at this point. No matter who wins, America is fundamentally transformed for forever. Obama's already gotten us about 25% of the way there. Either one of these people is going to finish off the job. The scary thing is, are we going to be fundamentally transformed into a nationalist socialist party or our country, or are we going to be transformed into just a plain old socialist party? But anyway, at this point, folks, I just got to look at the clock. We are severely long on this segment. We're going to have to take a really quick break. When we come back, we've got some new data from 538 since the most recent debate, and everybody's been asking, who won, Hillary or Trump? According to 538, you might be surprised by the answer, but we'll have that when we come back. This is Robinson and Wright. You're listening to us live on KLNRradio.com. Hope everybody's having a great Friday night. We'll be right back here in just a couple seconds.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
All right, welcome back. This is Robinson and Wright again, coming to you live on Friday night from KLNRradio.com. And at this point, we're going to change gears just a little bit. Still talking debate antics, and etc. But the interesting thing is, wherever you get your news, whatever flavor that news has, that's the party that won the debate. If you listen to CNN or some of the places that are a little more left of center, then Hillary kicked butt. But if you listen to Fox News and look at things like the Drudge Report and all that other right-leaning stuff that used to actually try to separate themselves from the propagandists they considered the left, Donald Trump kicked butt. But the sad thing is, if you look at something impartial that just kind of takes the numbers, breaks them down, and gives you the raw truth of it, such as 538.com, they have an election forecast on their website. And there's been a drastic swing from the week before the debate, to a few days after the debate. And as it stands right now, they now predict Hillary Clinton with a chance of winning the presidency at 67.5%. If you look at some of the states that they were terming states where Trump could have gotten inroads, Pennsylvania, where they had sworn that he was going to be able to get a pretty good uptick, is now slated for Hillary Clinton at 74%. If you look at Donald Trump's home state of New York, remember how much fun he made of Rubio for not being able to carry his home state during the primary? Hillary Clinton, a transplanted New Yorker, is now slated, if nothing changes, to carry New York at 99.2%, based on the correlation of all the poll data that they've taken, number crunched, and put together. So for those of you who think that Trump won the debate, I hate to tell you this, but I'm not sure what you were watching, because, look, in my estimation, if you really want the truth of it, nobody that was on the stage won the debate, and neither did we, because no matter which one of these idiots win, we're going to lose, and we're going to lose big, or in Trump's language, we're going to lose bigly, and it'll be big leak, and it's just going to be huge, and it'll be but it's going to be terrible. Because either way, freedom will be lost, it will continue to be eroded, it will continue to degrade, and we're going to have to sit around and wait for a chance to possibly pick up the pieces. And that's the absolute truth of it. Because at some point over the last 20 years, we as the American people have abdicated a lot of our responsibilities in exchange for being able to sit in our nice, comfortable houses, watch our bigger-than-average TV screens, drive our nicer-than-average cars, and don't pay attention to the world around us anymore, because it doesn't matter, because we've got our bills paid, we've got our bellies full, and we've gotten complacent. This is the same thing that happens throughout history with every great nation. They're hungry in the beginning, they carve themselves out, they build themselves up, and then things get really, really good, they get really, really comfortable, they get complacent, and then they don't realize when they start coming under attack from every possible angle. At this point, folks, we have enemies from within, enemies from without, and enemies within our own government that are trying to do nothing but hold on to their power. And we've allowed them to do so because at this point, we now have Hillary Clinton and one of her donors at the top of our presidential elections. And that was one of my biggest problems with Donald Trump from the beginning, because what he said on the first debate stage was true, and it resonated with a lot of people when he said, hey, I've donated to everybody up here on the stage. But I did it because I knew if I did it, they would owe me something later. Let's not forget who else he's donated to, and I wonder what it was that she owed him when it was done.
Yeah, and he's donated more to her than anybody else that was on that stage before. I mean, not just election-wise, but with her foundation. I mean, it's a uniparty. It's a good old boys party. It's a uniparty. Everybody is working together. They got off of that debate stage, and it wouldn't surprise me if somebody sent me pics of Hillary and Trump toasting each other with champagne glasses. It really would not surprise me. It really wouldn't. The world would go crazy, but I would sit there and go, man, that doesn't surprise me a bit. There is no two-party system. Everybody talks about there's no two-party system anymore. It's a one-party system. It's just one's a little slightly right and one's a little slightly left. That's the way it is. I don't know any other way to put it. And it all needs to burn down. Or there just needs to be a viable third party, which you and I have talked about, which we sort of have. Not sure how I'll vote, but we sort of have a third party.
Well, my issue with the viability of a third party is there's going to have to be years of conditioning that we break through, and unfortunately, it's even more prevalent in the millennials than it is with us. Which again, I noticed last night because I kept asking Jackson, look, with as much as in the beginning of this, everybody hated both of them. How come this couldn't have been the time that we could have put up a third-party option? Look, I don't even necessarily like Gary Johnson, but at this point I would be willing to pull the lever for almost anyone else just to try something different and to teach these parties that they don't have a hold over us anymore. And I know I say this a lot, and people are probably getting tired of hearing me say it, but the simple fact of the matter is, because of our education system, our indoctrination through the media, and all of the things that we watch on TV, we have an absolutely Pavlovian response to our elections now. People don't even realize how much they've been brainwashed. Even I didn't realize how much I had been brainwashed until I woke up and realized just how broken everything truly is. Because up until this cycle, I really thought if we just hung in there and we just put our nose to the grindstone and we actually got somebody in there that gave a damn about the Constitution, we could fix it. But the problem is nobody in our government wants that to happen. They don't, because they have everything they want right here, right now, and they're not going to give it up. And that's when I started realizing that we have a much bigger problem than I thought, because we have, whether we realize it or not, created our own aristocracy. The one thing that we said and we swore and people have fought and died to make sure that we never had here has been created right under our noses, and we failed to notice it until now. It's almost too late. Because we legitimately had a chance to take the power back away from them on this cycle, and we didn't do it because we let them get us angry and make us lose focus on the fact that both of these people are not talking about doing things that are going to make our lives any better. They're not going to do anything to make sure that you and I have bigger paychecks. They're not going to do anything to make sure that our money goes any further. All they're going to do is create more and more government policies, more and more government programs, which is ultimately going to make us more and more reliant on the very thing that our forefathers fought, bled, and died to get away from, which is an overbearing government making all of our decisions for us. At this point, we are seriously close to taxation without representation because our people that we put there do not listen to us anymore. They give us lip service to get into the building, and then they flip us the bird as soon as they're ready to close the door. I've had it.
No, I've had it too. It's there. We talked about it in the first segment. It's socialism. Every bit of what both sides are talking about now is socialism. It's all big government. Everything Trump says, everything Trump wants is big government. It raises our debt. It raises our tax rate. It's big government. Everything Hillary wants is big government. Everything in both parties moves towards big government. What this country was founded on was small government. And what's going to happen is everybody talks about, oh, your gun rights are going to disappear. Well, they're not. They aren't. Because if they are, the states, there's already, I think there's something states in the union that have said that they will not abide by federal gun laws. So where do we go from here? So now we got 20 states where if a certain person gets elected and they want to impose federal gun laws, the states are going to say no. We're looking at literally with two candidates the possibility of a civil war. I mean, that's, you know, I'll adjust my tinfoil hat here. I will, but I'm starting to kind of believe that because there are states, and I live in one, North Carolina, that are refusing federal mandates, and it's costing us. It's costing us sports venue rights. It's costing us all kinds of stuff. But my state, at least, is saying, no, we have states' rights. We can make laws, and we can make our own decisions. You're not going to force stuff on us. And that's what's going to start happening. And it's going to get really ugly. And it's going to happen with either candidate getting elected, because both of them have policies that states are not going to like or not going to want. And you can argue the Supreme Court all you want. The Supreme Court only has so much jurisdiction. They can't impose states' rights. That's what the country was founded on. And that's what's going to start happening. And it's going to cause a lot of strife. It doesn't matter which candidate is elected. Doesn't matter which party is in charge. This is going to start happening. And it already is. Like I said, with North Carolina. We're bearing it. I mean, so the ACC, the NCAA, and the NBA don't want to have big functions here. Great. You don't want to have your big sporting events here? Fine. We're still going to stand by our rights. And it's going to keep happening with state after state after state, where they're just going to ignore what the Fed says.
I mean, at this point, all I have to say about this is if it continues to be an issue where we're going to have more and more states that are just going to start ignoring the Fed, eventually we're going to have the beginnings of the next Civil War. And all I have to say about that is when Texit happens, I hope they take us Okies with them. I'm just saying. Because if the first state to go is going to be Texas. Everybody knows that. I honestly, and this is going to be a tinfoil hat moment, but let me tell you some scary things that have happened in Texas over the last 8 years that nobody's talking about. My state, Oklahoma, used to have one of their farm teams. When they were here, they were called the Oklahoma City Redhawks. And now we have the Oklahoma City Dodgers. Because Texas recalled all their farm teams. They're now within their own borders. They have no farm teams outside of their state. The same time they were doing that, they recalled all of their gold from any foreign state depositories. All of their gold has been called home now as well. If you can't tell me that at some point somebody behind the scenes isn't getting ready for an all hell breaks loose scenario and Texas is going to be like, nope, we're out, we're done, we're closing our borders, bye. Because they've already been secretly doing it. Not so secretly, but nobody's talking about the fact that they've been doing it. And they've been doing it now for a long time because the LA bought our team here It was before I bought the house here. We've been here over a year, so I know it's been at least 2 or 3 years since they called their farm teams home. And at the same time they were doing that, they were recalling all of their gold from any other state or even federal depository. All of Texas's gold that belongs to Texas is now within Texas borders, and nobody's talking about
that's going to happen. That's going to happen in more states. I mean, I know that when it comes to the Second Amendment, if they want to start really stomping on the Second Amendment and you can't own guns, or we're going to confiscate your guns, I know that Wyoming and North Carolina both have rules in state that say that if the Fed tries to come in, the state police are supposed to defend against that. And that's the way it should be. We're a republic, which means that each state has its own rights to make their own laws. What we've gotten away from the last 100 years is letting the Fed make laws that violate states' rights. And the states, a lot of states, I must say all of them, especially not California or New York, but states like mine, North Carolina and Texas and Wyoming, they've said we're not going to bow to any laws you make regarding the Constitution. We're not. We're going to live by the Constitution. You can do whatever you want to try to stifle it, but we're going to live by it.
You know, and that there has to be a point when we make that the end-all, be-all of our argument. Look, all of these other things, all of these hot-button issues that everybody talks about, and I know there are about 7 or 8 of them, and I know that we're never going to agree completely on those things. But if we could put those 7 or 8 things aside and focus on the fact that we need to govern by our Constitution, because let's face it, the men that created that document at this point, with as crazy as our education system has gotten, they are light years ahead of us in intelligence. Because, I mean, look, and this is what astounds me, because in this time where we have so much information at our fingertips and the ability to find pretty much anything you would ever want to know, our education system used to be far superior to what it is now. I remember even in my state, in the early 1900s, they were teaching Latin in my state. Nobody in my state barely knows what Latin is anymore. One of the scary things about where I work is I see all kinds of statistics that most everyday people in Oklahoma don't see. And one of the scariest things about my state is we have an average reading level of 4th grade for the adults in my state. But people keep telling me what a great job the national government is doing with education. Our education system has been declining everywhere. They talk about how bad it is in the inner cities and how bad it is in places like Detroit and California and everywhere else, but it's almost as bad everywhere because they've put these oppressive policies in play. They've made sure that they have everybody under thumb, and they have a cookie-cutter approach to education. There are so many different ways that we could fix everything that's broken, starting by revamping our education system. We have all of these things that we understand about human nature, like the fact that there are typically 4 different styles of learning that everyone's going to fit into. We could literally start building schools and classes around those styles of learning and make sure that the people that can learn best are in that particular classroom. That way they're learning in the ways that make them more comfortable, so they excel. But our government doesn't want us to excel. We could fix what's broken in our tax system and with Social Security simply by making these millionaires that are living on gold ticket pensions for being in civil service go back to living off of the interest from the money they've already made. Take their gold ticket health care away. Think of the millions of dollars we could save every year if we did that could be reinvested elsewhere. Think of how much money we could save if we had somebody going through the line item budget line by line by line by line and saying, okay, I've tallied up about $600,000 worth of hammers and toilet seats. Hey, you over there, one of you guys with the nice black suit on with the glasses. Here's $50. Go to Walmart. Get that stuff and knock that shit off my list. Pardon my language. I usually try not to curse on the radio, but this is one of the things that really gets me upset. Because the thing that nobody wants to focus on and nobody wants to think about is our government does not want to fix what is broken. Because if they did, they would have already done it. And if they could or wanted to, they would have already done it. But the problem is, folks, they don't want it fixed. Because let me tell you what happens if a government actually does what it's supposed to do and things run smoothly. You realize you don't need them anymore. And these people that have carved out a niche and have figured out how to get hundreds of thousands of dollars for retirement for years and years and years and years that were already rich before they ever got there, all they've done is carve out a way for them to make sure that they never have to worry about if anything ever goes sideways again, because they already have more money than God. Now the government's paying them a pension for the rest of their lives, and their family has access to gold ticket health care. You want to know how to fix Obamacare? You want to know how to fix whatever the revamped Trump care or Hillary care is going to be? Put them on it. I guarantee it'll be fixed in 5 minutes. But you know what? We won't. Because we don't think of them as our servants anymore. We think of ourselves as their servants. And that's why we continue to elevate them. That's why we're starting to treat even our politicians like rock stars. That's why Donald Trump is where he is right now. Because we have rock star syndrome in this country. As soon as somebody with a name we recognize says anything that we like, oh my God, he's the new savior for the country. No, somebody had that job 2,000 years ago, pulled it off quite nicely. We don't need another one. Thank you very much. Sorry, venting again.
No, that's fine. Oh, and you stop talking, dog barks just in time. Imagine that.
Go figure.
I don't even know where we go from here. We're gonna have one narcissist or another narcissist in the White House, and I think every president, to a certain extent, is a narcissist, but these two are, to the nth degree, narcissists, and they are both very proud of themselves, and it's going to go, healthcare isn't going to change. They're going to say they're going to change it, and the name is going to change. Single payer is not much different right now. I mean, I'm actually happy. My company went with Aetna. Out of the blue, they just said, we're going to go with Aetna. Aetna, who dumped Obamacare. And you know what? They dumped Obamacare, and my healthcare improved like tenfold. I'm paying a little bit more, but what I'm getting is like 10 times better than what I had. Obamacare is a failure, and both candidates want to do the exact same thing. They want to take it and make little changes to it and make it their own. It doesn't change a thing. It's everything either candidate says right now means nothing to me, because it's all the same thing. Until everybody in this country realizes that all either side wants is essentially the same thing, because they all feed off each other, we're done. We're screwed. Everybody needs to stand up and go, no, we're done with it. In 2 years, we need to change things in the Senate and the Congress. In 4 years, we need to change things in the presidency. If we don't, then we just sit back and accept the fact that we are going to actually become part of just the total world economy, and everything is about whatever any of the social justice warriors want to say, and we all need to comply, and that's the way we are. Or do we get people to stand up and say, no, this is America, and we need to make America again. America's great. It's still great right now. What's it going to be in 4 years? I don't know. But we need to make America America again. Is exactly what we need to do.
Well, I mean, let's be clear. America's great till midnight, because another thing that's been going on that nobody's been talking about because we've been too busy watching candidates throw poo at each other and fat shame beauty pageant contestants. Anybody remember in 2008 when Obama said he was going to fundamentally transform America, and we all said, oh, how cute. Sure you are. Well, guess what he's doing? As of midnight tonight, folks, the internet will... midnight... Is it technically midnight tomorrow or midnight tonight? Hell, I don't know. But anyway, so the internet will officially be under UN control beginning in October. So the guy who fundamentally or promised he was going to fundamentally transform America and has done so in so many small ways that nobody ever noticed is now doing it in a very big way. Because the biggest driving engine of our economy over the last 15, 16 years has been the internet and the burgeoning economy there. And it's now being turned over to the UN. So if you want to talk about getting ready to become part of a global economy and a global government, this is a very big first step to getting us there. Which is sadly enough.
Yeah, and have you heard either candidate say anything about it?
Nope. And you know what? They're not going to, because again, if they really wanted to fix stuff, I mean, look, the one thing that Donald Trump hit out of the park on Monday night, and I wish he would have stayed with it, was when she kept talking about all the things that she was going to fix. And he's like, you've been in politics for 25 years. If you were going to fix it, why haven't you fixed it before now? If he would have kept her on the ropes when he landed that blow, it would have been a totally different debate. And he might have finally said something that I could get behind, because that's the same thing that I've been saying for the last 8 years. The government doesn't, I don't care if it's city government, state government, federal government, whatever government it is, they really don't want the problems fixed. They want them placated enough that you're comfortable and you're happy, but they don't necessarily want them or need them fixed, because when they're fixed, you don't need them anymore. And we keep falling for the same crap over and over and over again. And like I said, the one thing that he said that I wished he would have kept hammering home with her when she said, well, now when I become president, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make sure we do this. And he's like, really? You've been in politics for the last 25 years. How come none of that stuff's been done before now? Short answer is because the government doesn't want it done. Short answer is no matter which one of these idiots gets into the White House, they're going to get the briefings that every single president always gets that's going to change everything and flip it on its face. I'm telling you that there are things going on in our government behind the scenes that we are never going to know about. I have seen people that I have watched, like George W. Bush for one. If you'll notice how much he changed after he was in office for a few months, it's because they have handlers. Nobody wants to admit this, but they have handlers. They have people that tell them all the things that we as the peons in this country aren't entitled to know. And because of those things, their policies fundamentally shift. And the same thing happened with Obama, probably on a slightly smaller scale, because I don't think he understood most of what they were trying to tell him because he was too busy trying to get his tea time set up. But it still happened. Sorry, I think I about made Dan choke there.
I did about choke.
I was like, I stopped talking. I heard him cough once and realized he was on mute. And I'm like, I really don't have anything else to say, but I think my co-host is dying because I keep making him laugh.
It wasn't necessarily a cough. It was more of, yes, a laugh choke. No, you're right. They get into they run for president, and then they get in, but then it becomes the same as usual, because they have their handlers, they have the people around them, they have Congress, they have the Senate, they have everybody, and they're telling them, okay, well, we know what you wanted to do, but this is the way it works. Now with W, I think he really understood it, but he was kind of handed a bad deal 6 months in presidency. I think he understood what he needed to do. And I think he understood the direction he wanted to go. And I don't think he was ever given the chance. And I think he was the last kind of hope for something resembling conservatism. And it got screwed up. But with Obama, young guy, the crown jewel of the Democrat Party, and he gets in. I think he got in there. I'll be honest with you. I think his first week he was probably like, "Oh my God, what exactly did I get into?" I really do believe that. And now I think he grew into it. He's a good speaker.
Well, I mean,
he figured out how to push his agenda. He came into it. He came into it wondering how the hell is he going to do things, but I think he figured it out pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's be fair. I mean, even Joe Biden pointed out what a articulate young black man he was. So there's that.
Oh, poor Joe Biden.
Oh, Joe's been a trip, man. I think when I realized just how bad off we were, though, was when I saw the same cartoonist that used to put Crazy Uncle Joe in the straitjacket with the Hannibal Lecter mask on. They were doing the same thing to Trump, and I'm like, oh my God, we really have become the flip side of the same coin 4 years later.
We have. I won't even say we. It's not you and me. I mean, we've ditched that for a while now. But, Joe, as far as Democrats go, Creepy Joe, yeah, he's Creepy Joe. But I've said before, I would rather sit down and share a beer or a lunch with Joe Biden than I would Donald Trump. And that hurts me. Donald Trump is my guy. And that hurts me that I would rather sit down and talk to Joe Biden than I would Donald Trump. That hurts me. And it's because of complete and total selfish. He's selfish. Donald Trump is selfish. Hillary is selfish. I don't think Joe Biden is selfish. I think Joe Biden is just Joe Biden. I don't think that Marco Rubio is selfish. I think Marco Rubio is Marco Rubio. I don't think that any of the other Republican candidates, for the most part, are selfish, or any of the other Democratic candidates are selfish. I think we ended up with the two most selfish people you could possibly end up running against each other for the presidency of the United States.
No, you're exactly right. And that's one of the things that we've kind of been going back and forth about and kind of glossing over for most of this when we're trying to make people understand where we're coming from. If you really stop and think about it, with as selfish as both of these two people are, and as eccentric amongst themselves as these two people are, what does it honestly say about the people that are voting for them that are willing to do it at all costs? And I'm not talking about the folks that were, against either or for the longest time and have suddenly all of a sudden said, well, at this point, one has got to be better than the other, so I'm pulling the lever for this one. I'm not talking about those folks. I'm talking about the dyed-in-the-wool constant Hillary supporters, the dyed-in-the-wool constant Trump supporters. If those people are as selfish as they are, what can honestly most likely be said about the motivations of the diehard supporters of those same people? Because you can't tell me they haven't noticed those qualities in them, because I did, and that's one of the reasons why I won't support either one of them. And that's not to say that I don't have my selfish moments. Look, we're all human. I've done things in my life that I am ashamed of. But at the end of the day, I've had to pick myself up, dust myself off, and keep on moving and promise that the next time if something like that happened, I would do my best to make sure that I never did it again. But that's all part of being human. That's part of being a Christian. That's part of understanding that we are not perfect. And I'm not saying that even our politicians should be perfect. I think we have a bad problem in this country of hero worship. I think we put people on pedestals that don't deserve to be there. We put people that say the things that we want to hear on a higher platform than they deserve to be, because at the end of the day, they're still people, and they have failings, and they have flaws. Our elected leaders are exactly the same thing, but that's why I'm saying we need to remember that these people are supposed to work for us, not the other way around, because we have started elevating them to this position that they don't deserve, because they are supposed to be our servants, not the other way around, and we've lost that somewhere, and we need to get that back. Because if we were making them come to us from a position of servitude, people like Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump wouldn't be where they were. Because they're not doing this, coming at this from a position of servitude. They're doing this and coming at this from a position of control, power, and domination. And that's what we're allowing to happen because we've lost sight of the fact that these people are supposed to work for us.
You're exactly right. And that's why, I mean, I have friends, and you have friends that will vote for Trump begrudgingly because they just feel that they can't handle Hillary. And I can deal with that. And I have friends, and you have friends that will actually cross the line and vote for Hillary because they just can't handle Trump, and they feel that we can get through 4 years of Hillary and then do something else. And I get that. I understand that. It's the people on both sides that will tell me I have to vote for Trump to stop Hillary, or I have to vote for Hillary to stop Trump. No, I don't. I don't. Because either way it goes, we're ending up with the same thing. We are ending up with the same thing. And I don't tell me how to vote. Don't tell you, Rick, how to vote. Vote for who you want to vote for. Everybody needs to just shut up. Vote for who you're going to vote for. The outcome is what the outcome is, and we move on from there. Stop telling. I'm not voting for either one of them, and I don't believe you are either.
No, I'm
and
not.
That's the way that's something that should be respected. I respect the people that say, I just have to vote for Trump because I don't want Hillary. I just have to vote for Hillary because I don't want Trump. Great. Do that. Leave me alone. I'm going to vote the way I'm going to vote. And if I don't vote for president at all, I don't. If I write in, I write in. But I'm going to tell you I won't vote for either one of them. Leave me alone and allow me to take part in my constitutional rights and vote for who I want to vote for. And I will allow you the same. And we have friends that are game with that. But there's people out there that just aren't. They're just like, if you don't vote for A, you're voting for B. If you don't vote for B, you're voting for A. No, that's not the way it works. It needs to stop. The whole thing needs to stop. The whole system needs to be revamped. It's the fact that neither of the other parties can get onto the debates is ridiculous. How are those parties supposed to be known if they can't get on there? You have a party that's on the ballot in 50 states, and it can't get its candidate in on the debates. Why? Why not?
Because the system, because
the two sides are working together to keep them off of it.
Yeah, they have.
Why are they working together?
Perot got on the stage.
But anyway, go ahead.
But no, I was going to say they've been working together since Perot got on the stage. But I mean, look, there are things that people that are not complete and total political junkies like you and I are, there are things that they don't even know. Like, unless you spend time going to a lot of the conventions and stuff that I go to, that I cover, one, because I like them. For me, it's fun. Two, it's kind of a semi-job at this point. You don't know that in any given election year, in any given 4-year cycle, there are over 1,000 people that have officially declared to run for president in this country. 1,000 people that have declared their candidacy and go from convention to convention to convention trying to drum up support. Not 1, not 2, not 17, not 200, but 1,000 different people, all with varying ideas. Some of them are completely insane. There was a guy at the Libertarian Convention that was running for president, and his whole campaign was caricatures on toast. But it's still his ability to do that. But what my question is, when you have over 1,000 people in a 4-year cycle that are like, I want a shot at being president, who's the gatekeeper that's decided that only a handful of those people even get to be heard? Why is that? When we're supposed to be a free country, why is that? And let me tell you something that nobody else is going to tell you. I haven't heard anybody else say this, and I don't, since I've been doing this for the last 8 years. If you want my honest opinion, we are not a free country anymore. We haven't been for a very long time. We are a country with the illusions of freedom, because at the end of the day, we still don't technically make choices for ourselves. We make the choices that we are steered to make. It's why we keep seeing our government and our population making the same mistakes over and over and over again, because they have figured out how to condition us to get the responses that they want. What terrifies them about this election cycle is they've seen that hold somewhat broken. But the problem is it wasn't broken hard enough, because if it was, with 60% of our population not wanting either one of the two-party frontrunners to be president, this would have been the perfect chance for a third party to come in and say, this is our guy, vote for them. And they didn't do it, not well enough. And even when they were trying, even when they were pushing, even when people were paying attention, all they did was repeat the same rhetoric of the other two parties, and people started looking at it going, well, maybe they're not that much different after all, so what real difference does it make? And then they decided that they were going to put up Gary Johnson and the other guy, because the other guy, who's basically a Democrat for all intents and purposes, has better name recognition. That ticket would have, in their eyes, worked better than the ticket with Austin Peterson. Even though Austin Peterson, if you saw the Libertarian debates, cleaned Gary Johnson's clock. And let's not be surprised by that. Gary Johnson can't actually discuss his topics very well. It's not that I don't like the guy. It's not that I wouldn't love a chance to sit down and talk with him for an hour or so and give him a chance to articulate things. The problem is, I think it would be pretty close to interviewing Ben Carson, because Ben Carson is a very intelligent man who cannot articulate well. Gary Johnson seems to be about the same.
No, you're right, and what you just said hit the point. I mean, you have a third party that's actually on the ballot in 50 states, and for political reasons, they don't pick the best guy. They pick the guy that they think might win one side over a little bit. And guess what? He hasn't. He hasn't won them over. But they could have picked the one guy that would have won the other side over and actually won them over and been on the debate stage. Not saying he would have won the election. That's not what I'm saying. But you're a party that's trying to strive to get recognition, and you got yourself on the ballot in all 50 states, and you pick the guy that is leaning to the left as far as possible.
No,
instead of picking the guy that is going to pick up, I watched Austin Peterson on YouTube every weekend. He did a YouTube, basically like almost a town hall. He did it on his own. And as Republican candidates dropped out, I watched his following grow and grow and grow and grow. And I watched him win debate after debate after debate. And what did they do? They picked the guy that he destroyed in the debates and the guy that wasn't gaining any of those Republican votes. I guarantee you right now that Austin Peterson would be on that debate stage. I can guarantee you that. I have no way to prove it, but I'll guarantee you that. Because I saw what was happening, and people were following him. Every time a Republican candidate dropped out, his YouTube town halls on the weekend would grow exponentially. But,
well, I mean,
let's pick the guy that's going to pick up some liberals, maybe.
Well, we've talked about that. Honestly, the Libertarian Party was terrified of all the conservatives that were ready to come over en masse because they don't want the conservatives any more than the new Republican Party does. Because they didn't want it to become a party of conservatism because the libertarians have never actually espoused a lot of the conservative ideals. They're fiscally conservative, socially liberal, and they're kind of the same hybrids that I've been talking about with folks like Jackson, Richmond, and Bryce that don't really realize how much they're ideologically more mirrors libertarian than either a conservative or a liberal, because there are things about both of them that are conservative, and there are things about both of them that are more liberal, and that's usually the line around social issues. Like Bryce identifies himself more as a Democrat, but he's a Second Amendment Democrat, which is almost a non-animal anymore, except for in states like Oklahoma and Texas. Because in any other state, my Democrats, for the most part, would be Republicans. Same thing about a lot of Texas Democrats. But it's just one of those major differences that we're seeing is these shifts and these differing in ideas that are all becoming an amalgamation and a mixture. And I think that's why, I mean, look, we keep talking about the fact that the two parties are working together. Let's not make this any less apparent than it already is. Look, the parties have worked together before. They've done it for a long time. They did it under Reagan. Reagan and O'Neill would come at each other like cats and dogs, but at the end of the day, they would sit down and go have a beer with one another because they realized that they were still on the same side. That's been the biggest difference because because for a while they didn't feel like they were on the same side. Now, unfortunately, they're starting to come back together and realize that they're on the same side. But the difference is when Reagan and O'Neill were still coming together at the end of the day and realizing they were on the same side, they were on our side too. These folks aren't. They're on their side, not ours, and they have been for a very long time, and that's why they've been quietly, steadily coming back together and moving things back to the point where there really is no difference between the two parties. It's been that way for a while, but we didn't notice, because the only thing that ever actually happens when the peaceful transition of government moves from one party to the other is some of the policies slow down. They still continue. The liberalism continues, but it just moves at a much slower pace if it was the Republican Party in power. And the only other thing that really changes is where the money tap goes. Because when the Democrats are in power, one certain groups of special interests get the majority of the money. When the Republicans are in power, all of that stops, and another group of special interests get the money. And that's what it's been about now for a long, long time. And now if you really look at it, a lot of the same special interest groups have gotten to the point where they're donating to both parties, because now they're just hedging their bets, because they realize, well, if this party wins, I lose my money, so let's throw some money over here so that when that party wins, maybe they'll remember that I'm still here. And that's why we've seen this complete bastardization of our political system. And it's just insane to me that we've somehow missed it and slept through it for so long. And now we're just sitting here watching it going, how did we get here and what did we do to fix it?
You're exactly right. I almost can't even add anything to that, because you pretty much just said exactly what I would have just said. It's the uniparty, and it
not
needs
to be
to
confused
end.
with the unibrow, which is just as creepy.
It needs to end. And that's what I try to make people understand, that it's not about right and left anymore. It's about it's about what's going on in D.C. What's going on in D.C. is everybody working towards the same goal. And the same goal is not what this country was founded on. It's not. And it needs to change. There needs to be, that's what I was saying before. What ticks me off so much about the Libertarian Party is they get themselves where they want to be, but they won't. They want to draw themselves to the left, which is exactly what the Republican Party is doing. It's drawing itself to the left. Now, maybe we're dinosaurs. I'm only going to live so long. We may be dinosaurs, and what you and I believe in may be done, but I'm not going to stop fighting for it as long as I'm alive. I'll keep fighting for it because I believe in what this country was founded on, not the direction it's heading.
No, exactly, and it's the same realization that I've had for the majority of this cycle. I can't remember exactly who said it at this point, but there's been a quote that has resonated with me for the majority of this cycle, and I'm probably going to butcher it because I'm getting tired, and when I get sleepy, my usually really good memory starts going out the window. But there is a quote that basically said, I will stand for the choices of liberty and freedom, even if that means that I stand alone. And that's exactly what I felt like for the majority of this cycle, because everybody's telling me that I have to put my beliefs aside for the good of the country. And I keep telling them, how can I put my beliefs aside for the supposed good of the country when if I put my beliefs aside, the last thing I'm going to be concerned about is the good of the country? That does not make any sense to me. That is one of the biggest non sequiturs of this election cycle, because you cannot literally use the argument of we cannot stand up for our values because we have to vote for a certain person just because they're running under a party banner, because it's the only way to save the country, when if we throw those values away, in essence, we're already destroying what has made this country great. And it's the biggest catch-22 that has been going on for a very, very long time. And that's what has me as sad as I am, because I've spent nearly, at this point, 7.5 years under the idea and the mindset that if we just woke enough people up, and if enough of us with conservative ideals found ways to use social media and all of these other tools to finally start getting the word out about the fact that the Republican Party is not the party of the old cranky white racist people that everybody wants to convince us that we are, and that they want to convince everybody else that we are, that we could finally start turning things around. And we got really close. We got things like the Tea Party, which was a really great movement when it started, but the problem with the Tea Party was, instead of actually starting with the principles of a movement, it started attacking things on a war footing. And they started using the ideas from popular teachings of war like Sun Tzu and some others, where the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That doesn't work in foreign policy, and it doesn't work in politics. Because what wound up happening is we would take people that had maybe 40 to 45% of what we aligned with, and because that 40 or 45% was there, we would run with them. And that's why the Tea Party is basically crumbling at this point. Because we let people like Bannon get really, really high in the Tea Party movement. Because again, about 40% of what he said we believed in. We forgot that the other 60% is a self-proclaimed Leninist who really doesn't want too much to do with this country at all, other than to tear it apart and put it back together in his own image. And that's why he's glommed onto Trump, because he sees that that's really what Trump wants to do. Trump doesn't want to make America great again. Trump wants to make America in his own image.
Exactly. That's nail on the head right there. I mean, I'm not going to be like you. I do not want to be labeled. I'm not a Republican anymore. I was at one time. I came back to the party after 13 years, not to be labeled, but because I saw a chance. I saw a field. I was like, here's a field I can get behind. You know, Walker, Purina, Cruz, Rubio, Paul, I was like, this is a field I can get behind. This is a field that is going to get rid of the Obama regime. And who stepped in? A dude that was going to say he was going to make America great again and pander to everybody that's never voted before. And people tell me that I'm crazy when I say that, but I've watched it. I've watched the documentaries of all these people going, yeah, never voted before in my life, but Trump's here now. Really? So you've never voted before in your entire life, and now you are going to vote for a guy who's been spending his time donating to the opposition because he says he's going to build a wall and make America great again. That's where we are right now. And I think, I mean, part of me says, well, it's kind of good. He's gotten people who have never voted before to decide to vote. But it's people who have never voted before saying, I never really wanted to pay attention to politicians, but he's not a politician. Well, you're complaining about how the country is now, but you never wanted to look into what was going on, and you never wanted to vote. But now you want to vote. Now you want to vote, and this is what we're stuck with. I don't know. I kind of lose a little bit for my fellow Americans when I see stuff like that. It's like, and I'm not talking about 20-somethings. I'm talking about 40-somethings that have never voted before. But now they're voting, and now they're politically active because Trump's on the scene. That's a kind of a problem. I just see it as a problem.
No, you're exactly right, and it's been a problem all along. But you know what? I just realized that we've been on such a roll. We have officially blown through the top of the hour, and now we're all the way through the bottom of the hour. Do you want to keep going for about another 26, or you want to call it quits? I know you got to work tomorrow.
I got to work tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. We've just been kind of on a roll, and I wasn't really paying attention. I'm like, dude, we've gone over by 37 minutes.
Yeah. Well, we had some stuff to talk about.
Apparently.
We should probably end it now, since my dog's going nuts and needs to go out, and I have to work tomorrow.
Sounds like a plan, brother.
The last Saturday for a long time, because my job is about to end.
All right, so why don't we do what we always do on the way out, right? Why don't you remind folks where they can hang out with you when you are not on air with me?
I am Cracker, which is at 1911G_fan on Twitter. And I have a Facebook account, which is kind of private right now, but I'm thinking about starting up a new one to put on here, but that hasn't happened yet.
Hey, it's easy. Just start yourself a public figure page. That way people can just go give it a like, and it's not as much to keep up with. But
yep.
Anyway, on that note, folks, I am Rick Robinson. We're going to get out of here. We've already blown through about over half of Rhino Report's time. Luckily, you're not going to miss anything. As soon as I kill the feed, it'll pick up right where it always would have. So you'll still get to hear the whole hour. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Also, we do have a guest coming on next week with us, but I'm not going to give away who that is yet because I've promised I wouldn't mention him until he's ready for me to mention him. But we have somebody who's submitted an article to both myself and to Dan that we thought was a really, really great article and actually mirrored a lot of what we've talked about here tonight. And so we're going to have him come on and talk about that next week. And we may or may not run long again with that one. But on that note, folks, we are out. Have a great night. Thanks for hanging out with us for this extended version of Robinson and Wright. and the episode entitled "The Debate That Fizzled Around the World," or Trump is yet again a really huge loser and nobody was paying attention. Have a great night. We're out. Take care.